Game & Watch, 1980. Despite what most people think, the NES wasn't Nintendo's first consumer game machine. In 1980, Nintendo came out with a portable game called the Game & Watch. This had a few games on it that could be played anywhere. Game & Watch was a series of handhelds that only played a single game and had either a clock, an alarm, or in some cases both. There were no cartridges or other games to download. Indeed, there was no internet to download them from. There was a whole series of Game & Watch devices released throughout the 80s. Each Game & Watch only had one game available to play, and there were around 60 in total. Some were based on arcade machines and were responsible for bringing big licenses and game characters such as Donkey Kong, The Legend of Zelda, and Mario Bros. Into the home. Nintendo Entertainment System, NES, 1983. Nintendo's next game machine and very first console is the NES, which played 8-bit games and was designed for the home. It was by far the best-selling console of its time, selling over 60 million units. The NES was originally marketed as the Family Computer or Famicom in Japan, but it was released as NES in North America at CES 1985. Launch titles included Super Mario Bros., Ice Climber, Pinball, and Duck Hunt. Game Boy, 1989. Another of gaming's greatest consoles ever is the Nintendo Game Boy. Thought of and designed by the same team behind the Game & Watch, the Game Boy combined features of the first handheld with swappable cartridges like the NES to create one of the best-selling consoles ever. Sales of the Game Boy and Game Boy Color, released in 1998, are estimated at around 120 million units. The battery in a Game Boy lasted 35 hours. Ever since this was released, they've come out with updated and better versions. It cost around $90 when it launched in America and came bundled with a copy of Tetris. Nintendo also made a range of accessories for the Game Boy, including a printer and magnifying screen with a built-in light. Super Nintendo Entertainment System, SNES, 1990. The SNES is Nintendo's second home console, following the Nintendo Entertainment System, or NES. The console introduced advanced graphics and sound capabilities compared with other systems at the time. The development of a variety of enhancement chips integrated into in-game cartridges helped to keep it competitive in the marketplace. The SNES was a global success, becoming the best-selling console of the 16-bit era despite its relatively late start and the intense competition it faced in North America and Europe from Sega's Genesis console. The SNES remained popular well into the 32-bit era. Virtual Boy, 1995. A weird but ultimately disastrous console release followed the SNES, but it's looked back on fondly as the forerunner of virtual reality in the home. The Virtual Boy stood on a table or cabinet, and players had to lean into the visor to play wireframe 3D games. Unfortunately, rather than provide a space-age experience, most gamers came away feeling queasy and the concept was shelved. Its lifespan can be measured in months, not years, and it never made it out of Japan or the US. Nintendo 64, N64, 1996. The N64 got its name from the 64-bit CPU it used and was Nintendo's last home console to require cartridges. It was successful from launch, with many customers fighting to get their hands on one, and was deemed the most powerful console of its generation. This release couldn't quite emulate its predecessor's success, going on to sell just under 33 million units because of competition with the Sony PlayStation and Sega Saturn at the time. Still, the N64 goes down in history as a fantastic Nintendo game console by those in the know, including myself. A large part of its success can be put down to the game titles Super Mario 64, The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, and GoldenEye 007 are still regarded as some of the best titles in history. Nintendo GameCube, 2001. Nintendo turned to the optical disc format for the GameCube, but was up against tough competition from other large game makers. Game progress could be saved to memory cards, coming in sizes from 4 MB to 64 MB, and the controller was redesigned from the 3-handled model of the N64 to a 2-handled one for the GameCube. But they couldn't prevent it from being a big flop. Once again, Mario and Zelda made an appearance on the GameCube, helping in some part towards its initial success, but only 22 million GameCubes were sold in total. Game Boy Advance, 2001. Nintendo decided to upgrade its aging Game Boy concept with a more powerful model, with better graphics and a wider range of colors available to developers with the Game Boy Advance. The Game Boy Advance went through several designs in its 7-year shelf life, with a return to the clamshell style of the original Game & Watch devices for the Game Boy Advance SP. That particular oddity could be seen as the forerunner to the Nintendo DS to follow soon after. Nintendo DS, 2004 to 2014. With this model, Nintendo decided to completely refresh its handheld strategy with the release of the DS. More importantly, it introduced an innovative new dual-screen setup that evolved from the original Game & Watch. The bottom display featured a touchscreen and could be used to control games, while the top was just an LCD screen to see what you were doing. Its main rival was the Sony PSP, but thanks to backward compatibility with Game Boy Advance games and a couple of Evolution models with the improved performance and features, the DS line became the best-selling handheld game console series in history. Which among these Nintendo models was your favorite? Mine was the N64. But let us know yours in the comment section below. Nintendo Wii, 2006 to 2013. The Nintendo Wii is a home video game console released by Nintendo on November 19, 2006. As a 7th-generation console, the Wii competed with Microsoft's Xbox 360 and Sony's PlayStation 3. The Wii introduced the Wii Remote Controller, which can be used as a handheld pointing device and which detects movement in 3 dimensions. Another feature of the console is the now-defunct Wii Connect 24, which enabled it to receive messages and updates over the internet while in standby mode. Like other 7th-generation consoles, it features a game download service called Virtual Console, which features emulated games from past systems. Nintendo 3DS, 2011. To follow up on its DS handheld concept, Nintendo turned to a visual technology popular at the time, 3D. It made the top screen of its clamshell device a 3D screen, although unlike similar picture tech on TVs and the like, it didn't require glasses. Although some people were disappointed with the 3D display and its performance, that didn't stop the 3DS from selling in bucket loads. It has since had minor refreshes in the form of a larger XL model and enhanced versions. A 2D-only version is also available for younger children who cannot use the 3D screen. Nintendo Wii U, 2012 to 2016. The Wii U was the successor to the Wii and Nintendo's answer to the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. It's the first Nintendo console to support high-definition graphics and is primarily controlled using the touchscreen-enabled Wii U gamepad. While initial reception of the Wii U was positive, it ultimately had been considered a gaming failure, selling just over 13 million units since its release. NES Classic Mini, 2016 to 2017. Retro gaming has become incredibly popular, and in advance of the Nintendo Switch becoming available in early 2017, the Japanese gaming giant helped gamers young and old revisit some of its best early games with a mini form of the original NES console. It featured 30 of the company's Nintendo Entertainment System titles and an authentic style controller, but with a modern HDMI connector. Nintendo sold around 2.3 million consoles before it was discontinued in 2017. Nintendo produced a limited run in 2018 to satisfy the remaining demand. Nintendo Switch, 2017. The Nintendo Switch was the 7th major video game console developed by Nintendo. Known in development by its codename NX, it was unveiled in October 2016 and was released worldwide on March 3, 2017. Nintendo considers the Switch a hybrid console. It's designed primarily as a home console, with the main unit inserted into a docking station to connect to a television. Alternatively, it can be removed from the dock and used similarly to a tablet computer through its LCD touchscreen, or placed in a standalone tabletop mode visible to several players. The Nintendo Switch uses the wireless Joy-Con controllers, which include standard buttons and directional analog sticks for user input, motion sensing, and high-definition tactile feedback. The Joy-Con can attach to both sides of the console to support handheld-style gameplay, connect to a grip accessory to provide a traditional home console gamepad form, or be used individually in the hand like the Wii Remote and Nunchuck, supporting local multiplayer modes. Super NES Classic Edition, 2017 to 2018. Following the success of the NES Classic Mini, the Super NES Classic Edition was launched in 2017 and, like the NES Classic Mini, was very successful. It sold over 5 million units and was discontinued after the end of 2018. There were 3 different versions of the SNES Classic Edition because there were 3 different versions of the original SNES in Japan, North America, and Europe. 21 Super NES titles were pre-installed, including the first release of Star Fox 2, which was cancelled in 1995. Nintendo Switch Lite, 2019. The Switch Lite is a variation of the Switch without the separate Joy-Cons or the dock that enables the Switch to be connected to a TV. Instead, the unit is designed for total portability. It has fixed controls and is currently available in 4 colors, plus special editions, notably for Animal Crossing. The Switch Lite has been a success, with 13.5 million units sold until the end of 2020. Nintendo Switch OLED model, 2021. Nintendo hasn't yet dropped a Switch Pro, despite years of rumors, but in 2021, it did offer up an upgraded version of the Switch with the OLED model. This model brings a hugely improved display that has deeper blacks and more luscious colors, while the console feels more sturdy and has a far better kickstand for playing on the go. It has the latest and greatest from Nintendo. In short, it's the best version of the Switch available. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to visit Evolution Zone and watch our other videos.